Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Music Man 82 and Mike is here as well. And we are going to be talking about our trip that we took up into the Wind Rivers from the Green River Lakes Trailhead. This is my first time ever being at this trailhead, despite having been in the winds multiple times over the last 11 years. I always wanted to see it because the picture of Square Top Mountain set above the Green River Lakes is one of the iconic views in the state. It's currently on our state license plate. And so it's one of those things that I always wanted to see, but never had made it up to the trailhead. So we made plans for June, I think it was June 22nd when we left on a Monday, and we went up there and spent a good 3 days just backpacking and seeing what the area was like. So on this trip, before we get into trip details, we'll talk about the beer. We packed in a couple things. One of them was the Wind River Pale Ale, Wyoming Pale Ale, and then the Roadhouse Walrus, which is kind of an imperial hazy ale. It's 8.3% ABV. It's a beautiful hazy color. One of my favorite beers brewed in Wyoming, I would say. I've had this beer many times, and then after this trip we ended up going to Roadhouse and having it at the brewery along with a lot of awesome other beers that they had brewed. They had some really interesting ones on tap when we were there. So
we have a great location in downtown Jackson now too.
Yeah, it's right next to the big square there where there's the big elk antler arches. And they have phenomenal food, phenomenal beer. It's definitely worth the trip. So, yeah, this beer is, I don't know what to say about it. It's just amazing. So, if you're ever in Wyoming, grab some Walrus from Roadhouse. It's phenomenal. So, let's see. First day of the trip, we left Powell around 4 a.m. And we I feel like we underestimated the time left to get to the trailhead because it didn't seem like it would be as far. We went through the park. We had a really cool experience when we got into Teton Park that morning. We got to see the very famous grizzly sow 399 and her 4 cubs that she had in the summer of 2020, which is amazing for a grizzly bear. And they were all out in the field, and you'll see them in pictures later on, just grazing away. And it was amazing to see that.
That was a really cool sight. Right around dawn.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Yeah, they were phenomenal. So, and then we went through Jackson, a little bit south, and went into the Hoback area, and then went up over to Pinedale. Not all the way to Pinedale.
Cora.
Yeah,
just outside of Cora.
Outside of Cora. The dirt road is long. What was it?
23 miles?
23 miles of dirt road. And it was pretty washboardy. It was still fairly early in the season. And
behind somebody going 9 miles an hour.
Yeah, we had a teenager in a red pickup truck going like 9 miles an hour. So it took us way too long to get to the trailhead.
We got there about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
We planned on being there before noon.
Yeah, it was pretty frustrating, but we made it and the weather was good. So we started hiking. You hike kind of on the north side of the Green River Lakes. Beautiful views of Square Top in the distance. And our plan for the trip was to get close enough and maybe attempt Square Top on the second day. But there was still enough snow that it just really wasn't feasible. So I think the first day we ended up going close to 10 miles just in the afternoon. But it's nice because there isn't a ton of elevation gain. Just a few hundred feet that gets you almost to the bridge, the big bridge that crosses over the Green River to the south side. And was it Beaver Park?
Mm-hmm.
It was right at the area where we camped. There's a kind of dual stream crossing where we had to take our shoes off and put on the Crocs for great camp spot, kind of right next to the Green River. Just a beautiful spot.
Super isolated that time of year. I think we went the next 48 hours without seeing another person.
Yeah, it was a while. It was, I think, just the morning hiking out of day 3 before we saw another human. So yeah, it was really nice night. Had some good food for dinner. Day three, we started over. I kind of modified the plans rather than trying to get up the top of square top, which was really around 11,600 feet. I decided that was maybe a little too ambitious given the amount of snow up high. And so I decided on this little peak called Granite Peak, which you can see kind of when you're hiking in, it's just to the north side of Square Top. And it is 98, 92 in terms of elevation. And I didn't have any beta on it, but it looked like it would just be a fairly simple scramble up to the side of it. So we left in the morning, headed up towards there, and Mike wasn't feeling super well that morning.
I had a chicken out. I got dehydrated pretty badly.
Yeah.
I underestimated how much I ought to drink the day before.
Yeah, so the very first day on the trip, we were pretty sure Mike didn't drink quite enough, and it's one of those learning experiences you have out in the wilderness. And so he left me probably pretty early in the day and went back to camp to get hydrated, and I continued on up, and it was a brutal climb. It was no trail really up to the lake that sits between Square Top and Granite, but it was just solid uphill. It was exhausting, but I made it up near the lake and then kind of headed over to the right. The actual scramble to the top wasn't too bad, nothing harder than class 3, and if you had taken the time to go around, you could have easily made it class 2. Reached the summit. There were some beautiful views, which you'll see in the pictures, and then I headed back to get back to camp. I think I probably made it around 1 o'clock or so.
Yeah, it was mid-afternoon.
Yeah, mid-afternoon. We packed up and started heading back down the trail. Our goal was to get around probably half the distance out that afternoon, and then have an easy morning the third day. And I think we made it probably close to 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
We found this amazing camp spot about 5 miles from the trailhead that was kind of elevated up above the Green River. You had great views of Square Top. It was probably one of the best backcountry campsites I've ever had.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
About 5 miles from the trailhead.
Mm-hmm.
Just a perfect site. Right as you just got north of the upper Green River
Yeah.
Lake.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we cooked some dinner. We actually built a fire that night. Everything was I think it had rained a few days before we went up there, so everything was kind of wet. He tried for a long time to start a fire by usual means, and we finally were like, well, we have a stove. So we turned the stove on and stuck a little stick out on it, and finally got a fire started. And it was a really good fire. There was already a fire ring there. And we also, both days I think on this trip, actually no, this was the first night on the trip when we did it. We used the Catadine water filter, the hanging water filter, as a beer fridge, because the beer that we took for the first night was awesome, and then we needed beer for the second night, so we had the beer, but it had been in the packs a little too long, so we were like, hey, we just filtered cold water, melt water from the Green River, so we put the beer in the water filter and let it cool off.
Just floated there for a while.
Just floated there. It was
filled up our Nalgene's and drank some of that, started a fire, and then had some cold beer afterwards.
Yeah, it was a moment of genius, I would say.
Hot fire and cold beer, that's all you need on a backpacking trip.
Yeah, it was amazing. So then early the next morning we headed out.
We got caught up by a cow moose and her 2 calves.
Yes.
Around a hairpin turn there.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We came around a corner and there they were. And I've run into enough grizzlies and enough moose in the backcountry to know that you probably would rather meet a grizzly. And
that moose
she was not thrilled.
She meant business.
Yeah.
So she kept strafing us all the way up that little rise up to that deadfall.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna have to like bushwhack to get around her, and then she started heading over to where we were, and so we backtracked, and it was quite an ordeal getting around her. But we We saw a couple other moose on the other side of Green River too. I think
Yep.
we saw 6 moose total on this trip.
We saw a little bit of grizzly sign too, a couple of prints and scat, but no grizzly encounters, just the moose.
Yeah,
It was a good trip for animals though.
it was. We saw a lot of wildlife, and then we made it back to the car pretty early. It was probably like 8 o'clock. I think we left pretty early that morning and got back to the car and took the long dirt road out, which was much shorter on the way out because we weren't behind the red pickup truck. Then we went to Jackson and hit Roadhouse for some amazing food and really good beer, and then went home through the park. It was just a good time. So really fun trip. Definitely headed back to Green River Lakes at some point. It's a beautiful area. For sure, I want to get in there and even go in farther and kind of try to connect that area through maybe backpackers.
You can pick up the Continental Divide Trail.
Yeah, it's like
that trail.
Right. So the Continental Divide Trail goes up over Knapsack Col there, and so a lot of backpackers are headed through there on their way through the winds. Quite a lot of alternates for the CDT through there, but that seems to be a really popular one. So.
Great fishing on the lakes up there. I saw somebody catch what looked like a 2-footer out of the upper Green River Lake.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a cool area for sure. So hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you after.
Enjoy.
Well, it's night one of Cuddy and Tim's trip up to Green River Lakes Trailhead. We are at camp, which you can see over there. Cuddy is filtering water, and we're gonna go for a little walk tonight. It's absolutely beautiful up here. And we did about a 10-mile day today, and starting at noon, 12:30, I think it was. So yeah, took it about 6 hours, and almost at the end we had a fun stream crossing where we had to take off our shoes for 2 of them right in a row. So that was time consuming, but dinner was good, and that's all I have to say about that. morning. I'm on top of Granite Peak, which is just under 10,000 feet. And Mike wasn't feeling great this morning, so he headed back to camp after we started, and I continued up. And pretty crazy climb. There's so much bushwhacking. There is a trail up to Granite Lake, but it's not a great one. But as you can see, the views are spectacular. Happy to be here. 2020 Wind Adventure. Good evening, it's night number 2. I'll just give you a tour of our campsite. Got water there. This is the real fun part. Got them cooling in there. Got a great site here with an established fire ring. And Mike is attempting to get one going. And then we've got absolutely beautiful views here, looking over to upper Green River Lakes, and then the Green River running here, and then Square Top as the main attraction for viewing. It's just a gorgeous spot. A couple moose down there earlier.
Thank you so much for watching that video of our trip up the Green River Lakes. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you around for some more adventures of hiking and its wonderful combination with beer. Cheers.
Cheers.